If I'm not waking up at 5 a.m. each day, my schedule is not going to start at 5 a.m. I'm not about to be a different person tomorrow. Hi, my name is Katya Alexander, and this is Pocket Change Films, the podcast where I teach you how to make your film with your pocket change, then make a portfolio, then start getting budgets for your projects, and then hopefully making your first micro-budget feature.
Pocket change, pocket fame, film in a spot. Will I have to scream when we hit play in the dark? Innovation, creation on a shoestring beat. Join the journey, feel the heat and everything.
For those of you who don't know me, I have been working in this industry for 12 years and have been a producer for 10. I sold a feature to a Bamarama and then later had a feature get into and win South by Southwest, later being bought by IFC and was a trending film on Hulu. I also worked the Las Vegas Sphere, which is a boot camp between the intersection of tech and entertainment. I can't believe I surpassed 2,000 subscribers. That's really crazy. I know to some people that might not be a lot, but that's like so crazy to me. I wonder how many subscribers I'm going to be up to actually when I post this video, because this one's not coming out for a little bit. But right now I just surpassed 2,000, so thank you. This episode is going to be a little bit different than the rest of the series, but I was thinking about this the other day and realized how important it is to figure out how to work in a healthy way when you're working from home and you're working freelance, where you're pretty much your only boss. I have gone through it all trying to figure out how to do this life, and I've made so many mistakes, working too much, working too little, not having really good goals. And so I wanted to explain to people how you can work from home in a really effective way and how you can do freelance. This goes even outside of the film industry, so I hope that people find this helpful in becoming productive. So one of the ways I remain productive starts way at the beginning of the year in setting my goals. I know people think about that and they're like, oh my God, New Year's resolutions. I never stick to my New Year's resolutions, but these are very different than New Year's resolutions. I also am not the best with New Year's resolutions. I'll be like, oh, this year I want to eat more broccoli or something. And then February, I've completely forgotten about it. This is not that. It's the 777 plan. So I don't remember what all the sevens stand for, but the very important part is that it's 7 goals. It comes from the idea that a person can't think meaningfully about more than 7 things at a time. So you have to simplify your life to 7 things. I usually do 4 personal goals and then 3 professional goals. The important thing about these goals is they need to be trackable and they need to be within your control. I've had years where I set the goal of this movie gets funded by the end of the year. That's not a terrible goal, but it's not something I have ultimate control over. I could try everything in the world and the film just doesn't get funded. Sometimes every single month it starts to feel really, really defeating of oh my God, I'm not reaching this goal. It's just better to have goals that are a little bit within your control. I want to have 25 episodes of my podcast out or something like that. Something that is totally within your control and measurable and trackable. So the beginning of the year, I do an exercise where I think about my previous year and then I think, okay, how am I going to simplify my life to 7 things, just 7 things that I'm going to focus on every single day. Now, of course, if there's a little thing that comes up, I want to learn how to paint or whatever, that's fine. It's okay to have hobbies and have interests, but these are goals. They're slightly different than your hobbies. These are things that are going to better your life and better you as a person. One of my goals for last year was I was trying to start being significantly more social and start dating again. And by the end of the year, I started hosting a monthly family dinner where every 6 weeks I invite a bunch of my friends over and we have a family dinner together. It's super nice because I have so many friends that I don't really get to see as often. And so knowing that, okay, in 6 weeks, I'm definitely going to see them is just really nice. Also, I think a lot of times people don't know how to express that they really want community and they want something that's consistent in their lives. So when I started offering people to do this dinner, so many people reached out to me and were like, this is the best thing ever. I look forward to this every single month. And then the other thing that I did was I got a really, really serious boyfriend. And it was because I had the goal of being more social and starting to date again. I couldn't have the goal of finding a boyfriend because I said, that was something out of my control, but it was something that I wanted. So knowing that my goal was to start dating again did have me, try apps and reach out to friends and tell them that, I'm interested in getting out there. And then that led me to finding my amazing partner. That's the best thing that's ever happened to me in my whole life. So the goals don't all have to be like, I want to be a millionaire, or I want to be the most successful producer in the world. You can have a goal that's as simple as, I want to start dating again. Actually, the simplest goals might be the most effective for you. So just stop and think, what are the 7 things I want to focus on this year? I keep a physical planner. Digital planners are fine too, but I have a place where I write those 7 goals down that I can look at them every week to every day. Then once a month, I set goals based on those 7 goals. So like last year, my first goal was to start competing seriously in West Coast swing. So for my January goal, it was find a private coach that I really enjoy. And so that month, I tried out multiple private coaches to see which one I wanted to go with. For the goal for dating, I was like, sign up for dating apps and go on 1 date. One of the other goals I had for last year was for one of the companies I'm working for, we had a goal of getting a feature into production by the end of the year. I like the fact that the goal was so broad because at the beginning of the year, the goal was to get a specific feature into production. And like I said, I don't have control over that, but I do have control over getting potentially a feature production. So by the end of the year, we were brainstorming, okay, we can't get this specific one because it's really expensive. What else could we do that we could start next year? And I had to start thinking outside the box because I knew that I really wanted to complete that goal by the end of the year. So how am I going to do it? And now we just had our first meeting about starting production on our next feature. I also had goals last year that were pretty specific and I didn't end up reaching them. And you know what? You're not going to reach every single goal, but just the fact that you had it made you get significantly closer. And it also helps you guide your months on what are you going to do each and every month. Each week, I break it down even more. What am I going to do this week so by the end of the year, I have reached my 7 goals? I think one of the hardest things about being your own boss or working from home is waking up each day and figuring out, what am I supposed to do today? Having those goals as your backbone is so helpful. Another thing that I keep that keeps me organized and motivated is a monthly done list. I didn't come up with this. I actually heard about it on the internet 3 years ago, and I have been doing it ever since. And let me tell you, it has been one of the most helpful things I have ever started. I tend to get really hard on myself, and when I look back on my year, I'm like, I've accomplished nothing this year. But if I actually, on a granular level, looked back at my year, I had accomplished so much. So I started keeping this thing called a monthly done list. To do this, I do it in many steps. Each day, I keep a list of the things I did that day, which then at the end of the week, when I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do the next week so I can get closer to my goals, I first go back and see all the things I did that week, and I make a summarized list of it. Then at the end of the month, I reflect on my month and I make a list of the things I did that month. What tasks did I do? What experiences did I have? Who did I see that month? What meetings I had? And also, because one of my goals usually is fitness related, like what workouts and stuff I did that month. And every 3 months, I go back and make another summarized list. What did I do in these 3 months? So that by the end of the year, I have a summarized list of every single thing that I did that year. And when I go back and read that list, I'm floored. I'm like, really? I did all of this in a year? Sometimes working from home and working in film can feel like you're running at a brick wall over and over again, hoping that it will break. And keeping a monthly done list and a yearly done list gives me that motivation to actually keep going and like running towards that wall. That's why at the end of the year last year, when I didn't reach one of my goals, when I looked back at everything I did that year, I could definitely say, well, I tried. Look at every single thing I did this year for this. And even though I didn't reach the goal that year, that doesn't mean I'm not going to reach that goal. I just couldn't do it in the specific timeline I had in my head. And all the work I did that year got me a year closer to reaching that goal. The next thing I do is I make a realistic schedule for myself. Realistic because if I'm not waking up at 5 a.m. each day, my schedule is not going to start at 5 a.m. I'm not about to be a different person tomorrow. For months, I kept making all of my plans as if I was still a 5 a.m. riser. And so every day I would either wake up at 5 a.m. and be so exhausted all day I could get nothing done, or I would wake up at 7 a.m. really well rested, but 2 hours behind the schedule that I had made for myself. So it's so important that you make that schedule really realistic. The other thing is I go grocery shopping Tuesday afternoons every single week. I do it because that's when the farmer's market is and I get all of my produce from the farmer's market. So I just do all my grocery shopping on that day. So I had to add that into my schedule because before I did, I would have all this work planned that day and then I'd be so frustrated with myself because I wasn't getting it all done. And then I was like, of course I'm not getting it all done. I'm leaving for 2 hours to go grocery shopping. I finally just put it into my schedule and my life has gotten so much better. I know it's such a small detail, but I bring it up because so much of the time we'll be so frustrated with ourselves every single day or every single week because we're not doing the thing that we're trying to get ourselves to do. But you have to pause and be realistic with yourself about who you are and then figure out how you're going to do what you need to do. Another example is I have date nights with my boyfriend on Tuesdays. I have game nights with my friends on Thursdays. Both things tend to end really, really late at night, sometimes like 1 a.m. So I'm obviously not going to wake up at 7 a.m. the next day. Every single week that I have tried to do this and tried to stick to this schedule, it has not worked. So I decided, okay, Wednesdays and Fridays, I don't work out in the morning, so I can get a couple extra hours of sleep and then wake up and start my workday. I'm giving you all these examples to show you a couple things. One, every single day does not have to look the same. You don't have to wake up at the exact same time every day, have the exact same breakfast, stick to the exact same schedule. Be realistic with yourself about how your days are functioning and build your schedule around that. The second thing is being realistic with yourself. Like I said, if you're not a 5 a.m. riser, you're not going to all of a sudden become a 5 a.m. riser. But maybe you work your best at night. So plan your schedule to get all of your deep work done at night. And then lastly, if you are getting frustrated with yourself every single day and every single week because you are not sticking to your schedule, there's something wrong with the schedule. There's nothing wrong with you. Lastly, every week doesn't look the same. Like sometimes I have a random meeting that I have to fit in. Something I do the night before each and every day is I look at the usual schedule I have for the next day. Then I look at any unique things that came up, like meetings or I'm going to go see my friends that night. So then I adjust the schedule based on those factors. So every morning when I wake up, I know exactly what I'm going to do that day. I know what I'm going to do in the morning. I know what I'm going to do in the afternoon. I know what I'm going to do in the evening. And I know what I want to accomplish that day. Another thing that helps me out is how I get ready in the morning. In the past, there have been days that I just kind of like roll out of bed and then immediately start working. And you would think, oh, wow, that's such great dedication. But in reality, like, I'm just not in the mental place to get a lot of things done when I'm not taking care of myself. That is one of the reasons the schedule is so helpful because I can wake up and go, oh, I could start working on this thing, but it's workout hours, so I need to go work out and then I'll start that thing. So in my schedule every day is time to get ready, really get ready. Take a shower, do my makeup, do my hair, pick an outfit. Even if I'm going to work from home alone and I'm not going to see anybody all day, I try to dress as if I'm going to go out for errands and see a friend. Being dressed every single day gives you this internal push and motivation. I think it's something a lot of people realized during COVID as well. When you're waking up and you're kind of staying in your PJs, your comfy clothes every single day, your motivation does start to drain. But waking up and getting dressed and getting ready and sticking to a routine that makes you feel like a person is super important for your productivity and your mental health. Something I do because I work from home is I try to get out of the house as much as possible. So I work out outside of the house, obviously, so that allows me to leave the house every single day. As I mentioned before, I have little things planned throughout the week, like game nights and date nights and lunches or dance classes with my friends. I also am a West Coast swing dancer, so I do have a lot of dance practice throughout the week, and that gets me out every single day. And throughout the day, sometimes I'll try to go to a library because that's a place you can be for free. Sometimes if I'm willing to spend a little bit of money on a coffee, I'll go to a coffee shop. I try throughout the week to make sure that I'm leaving the house, being social as much as possible, because if you don't do those things, you're going to start to really, really suffer. The last thing I want to say about this is when I first started working from home, I went through a range of mistakes. I would go through periods of time where I would literally wake up and work until I fell asleep. I wouldn't work out, I wouldn't really prioritize seeing my friends, and I wouldn't prioritize other hobbies that I might have. And then sometimes I would swing all the way to the other side where I'm not getting anything done, but I'm seeing my friends all the time and I'm working out a bunch. I join every single dance class I could possibly join. I'm making all this clothing. It's super important that you find a balance. Keep track of the things that make you really happy in your personal life, like seeing your friends or doing hobbies. Pair that with hard work. Sometimes you're not going to enjoy the job that you're doing, and sometimes you're not going to feel super motivated to do it. But pairing your time with doing something really hard with doing stuff that's really fun and breathes life into you is the way that you stay motivated for long periods of time. Make sure as you're trying things and you're learning things that you become very comfortable with pivoting. It's very important to pivot when the thing that you're working on is not working for you. Have it be your goals aren't working for you. It's totally fine to switch your goals in the middle of the year or even close to the end of the year. If you've already accomplished a goal early on, add another goal, replace it. If your schedule isn't working for you, switch up your schedule. Keep trying different things until it works. Just make sure that you don't allow yourself to get into a rut. If something isn't working for you, pause and take the time to reflect to figure out what it is that's not working for you, instead of being mad at yourself every single day and not understanding why you're not accomplishing the things that you want to accomplish. I know this episode is really unusual for me because I'm usually teaching people how to make short films and how to work in the film industry. But learning how to work from home and be your own boss is probably the most important part of the film industry, because it's one of those jobs that functions like that. If you are able to get an office job and you're able to do that and you want to do that path, that's super great. And I'm so glad that you found something that works for you. But most people are going to be freelancers who mostly work from home and are looking for jobs. So I wanted to give advice on how do you stay motivated and productive through that process. I'm Katya Alexander, and this is Pocket Change Films.